welcome back to
Current Density with Jayden.
Hey, I'm Jayden, and joining me today is my co-host Charlie. How's it going, Charlie?
Hey Jayden, I'm doing great, and I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. We are diving into the serious yet fascinating topic: recent airplane accidents and what they mean for aviation safety.
That's right. With multiple incidents making headlines, people are starting to question just how safe flying really is. Are these accidents just rare, unfortunate coincidences, or is there something deeper going on?
We'll explore what causes airplane crashes, how they impact passengers and the airline industry, and whether technology can ever make flying 100% safe.
So buckle up because we're about to take off into today's episode of Current Density. Let's get started.
Okay.
So, Charlie, have you heard about any recent airplane accidents? Which one stood out to you and why?
Yeah, many of us already know. I've been following some of the recent incidents, and two that really stood out were the Jeju Air emergency landing in South Korea after the tragic incident right after, and then mid-air collision between an airplane and helicopter in the U.S. Mm-hmm. The Jeju Air incident was shocking because it involves an emergency landing due to pressurization issue, so which can be extremely dangerous if not handled properly. So passengers reported feeling intense ear pain and discomfort, and oxygen mask had to be deployed. So it made me think about how even relatively minor mechanical issue can escalate quickly if not addressed in time. And last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, a few days ago, accident in the U.S. where a small aircraft collided with a helicopter in mid-air was another tragic case. Mm-hmm. So mid-air collisions are rare, but when they do happen, the consequences are almost always fatal. So it raises concerns about air traffic control, pilot awareness, and whether enough is being done to prevent such incidents. So both of these incidents remind us that while flying is incredibly safe compared to other forms of transportation, when something does go wrong, it can be catastrophic. So it also made me wonder, were these incidents just unfortunate events, or were there warning signs that could have prevent them? So what was your first reaction when you heard about the recent airplane accidents?
Yeah, so my first reaction was like a mix of like shock and sadness. Mm-hmm. For the Jeju Airlines flight, I didn't know that pressurization was such an important factor. Mm-hmm. I knew about the bird strike, and then I think oxygen masks were deployed. But passengers reported feeling intense ear pain and discomfort. Like only 2 people made it alive, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah.
that was a shocking incident.
Yeah, they were actually crew
members.
Crew members, at the back, at the tail.
Yeah, that was such a wow. Like all of these like 240 people, was it? They all lost their lives. Like it was so tragic. And then comes the American Eagle flight, and 67 people like all died in a mid-air collision. I don't know. It's like such. We think that with all our safeguards implemented, but these accidents still happen. And that's a thing that we have to remember. We have to stay alert and vigilant.
Exactly.
I extend my condolences to the passengers and crew that were affected by these incidents, and it made me think, more about the fragility of life and the importance of continuous safety improvements.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So do you travel by plane often? How do you feel about flying? Do you find it exciting or a bit scary?
I wouldn't say I travel all the time, but I do fly a few times a year. And honestly, I have a mixed feeling about it. On one hand, I love the excitement of traveling, being up in the air, looking down at the clouds, and knowing I'll be in a completely different city or a country in just a few hours. But at the same time, I cannot ignore the tiny bit of anxiety I feel, so especially during the turbulence or takeoff. I know the chances of something going wrong are extremely low, but every time I hear about an accident, I think, what if I were on that plane, right? So how do you personally feel when boarding a plane? Do you ever worry about safety?
Personally, I think I feel relatively safe when boarding a plane. You know, I'm pretty enthusiastic about aviation. I know like a bit about all the systems and like engineering that keeps the plane in the air, keeps the plane safe. But you know, there's always like this slight worry in the back of my mind. But I think that's natural, especially you know with multiple news of like accidents, like fresh news a couple of days ago. But I remind myself, you know, about the statistics. Aviation is the safest mode of transportation. And that kind of helps me settle into my seat a little bit, you know. The chance of you getting into a fatal aviation crash is far less likely. It's less likely than, you know, the chance of you getting struck with a lightning bolt. So it's not that high, but fatal accidents do happen, and we need to, you know, take necessary measures to prevent them as much as possible.
Exactly.
So what do you think are the main causes of airplane accidents? Is it mechanical failure, pilot error, weather, or what do you think it is?
There's no single cause, but I would say pilot error and mechanical failure are the biggest ones. Despite all the training pilots go through, they are still human. And a split-second decision under pressure can sometimes lead to mistake. But even when pilots do everything right, things like engine failures, electrical malfunctions, or sensor issue, or bird strike can cause serious problem. So weather is another factor. So strong turbulence, lightning, or icy condition can put extra strain on both the aircraft and the pilots. And in rare cases, miscommunications between air traffic control and pilots can also be a major risk.
Yeah, like especially the recent, you know, the mid-air collision between the helicopter. ATC was understaffed that day.
Yeah.
A report.
Yeah.
And then the helicopter requested to the ATC minutes before the collision that they would grant them. Basically, ATC would grant the helicopter to fly on their own, and as long as the helicopter has visual on the approaching American Eagle's jet, they can maneuver around it. So they gave the helicopter permission, and the helicopter said that they could see the aircraft. But minutes later, there happened the collision. And a New York Times article also reported that in the final moments before the two aircraft collided, the American Eagle jet pitched up slightly, so maybe both sides could see what was going on, but somehow they couldn't avert that collision.
So even with advanced technology, why do you think airplane accidents still happen?
I believe like airplane accidents still happen because no system is perfect. There are always either human errors or mechanical failures that ultimately lead to a crash. 80% of all aviation accidents happen because of some kind of human error, whether it was maintenance, pilot, or miscommunication. An example of this would be American Airlines Flight 587, which was an Airbus A300 in 2001, November 12th. So basically, the aircraft took off right after a Boeing 747, so that's a big plane, right? And then there's something called wake turbulence, where if you're flying close behind a big plane, you get some turbulence from the engine thrust. And then the pilot was trying to stabilize the aircraft through that turbulence, but the first officer did it in a way that he overly stretched, put force on the rudder, so the tail at the back, back and forth, in order to like stabilize that aircraft, and that put a lot of stress on the tail fin, and then it snapped off. So that caused the airplane to like spiral and crash into the ground.
Oh my God.
So in that case, that would be training issues. They didn't train their pilots to correct what to do in an awake turbulence situation. They should have not like trained the first officer in a way that he would like put excessive force on the rudder. So the main issue, it's like crashes because of weather patterns are actually, I think, pretty rare compared to the crashes that happen because of improper maintenance, lack of like training, and human error.
Okay.
So which do you think is more dangerous, human error or system failures in airplanes?
That's a really interesting question. On the one hand, human error is responsible for the large percentage of aviation accidents, like you said. Things like misjudging altitude, reacting too slowly, or misunderstanding automated system. But on the other hand, as we rely more on automation, system failures are becoming a bigger issue, I think. If on autopilot system or sensor malfunctions and the pilots don't react quickly enough, the consequences can be just as bad, if not worse. So I think the real danger comes when pilots don't fully understand or trust the automated system, like when they assume a system is working properly when it's actually failing. So, Jayden, do you trust pilots more or the automated system in airplanes?
I have faith in both the pilots and the automated systems, but in different ways. Pilots have invaluable training, and especially for like senior pilots, they have a lot of experience, especially a lot of military jet fighter pilots, move over to the commercial industry as they get older, and a lot of that experience is really invaluable, especially when it comes to dealing with a crash. The Miracle on the Hudson was possible. Everybody survived that water landing because Captain Sullenberger was able to land the plane in such a way that it didn't break apart upon impact on the water. If it did, not as many people, I guess, would have survived. Autopilot skills are also very important because they can, the computers ensure that the plane is, flying smoothly, and if there are slight like human mistakes, small mistakes, autopilot can correct. But again, you shouldn't be like too over reliant on these autopilot things. With a couple of years ago, there was this whole big issue with MCAS and the Boeing 737 MAX, where the computer was forcing the nose to keep pitching up, which could lead in a stall. And Boeing did not clearly communicate to the pilots. They only had a couple of training videos to watch, and so not many pilots were very aware of the new automated system. So it is very important for pilots to be aware of what is exactly going on with the autopilot. So how do you think airplane accidents affect people's emotions and mental health?
I think emotional impact is huge. For passengers who survive accidents or close calls, flying might never feel safe again. So even people who's never experienced an accident firsthand can develop anxiety just from hearing about crashes on the news. So a lot of people develop a fear of flying after seeing dramatic footage of plane crash, even though flying is statistically much safer than driving. So, and for the families of victims, an emotional trauma can last a lifetime. So it's not just about loss. So it's also about uncertainty of what happened in those final moments, right? How do you think these accidents impact the airline industry and travel economy?
Oh yeah, these accidents can create a ripple effect on the airline industry, often resulting in decreased consumer confidence and a sharp dip in travel bookings immediately after incidents gain widespread media coverage, right? The Jeju Air crash, now like people were canceling like all their packages and tickets, so it was a huge financial blow to them as well. Airlines after that have to spend more on safety measures and like restoring public relations. You know, all of that can drive up operational costs, and the travel economy, including like tourism businesses, also take a hit, you know, with all of these major incidents going on. What actions should airlines and government take after a major airplane accident?
The first priority should always be investigating the cause, whether it's a pilot error, mechanical failure, or something else entirely. The transparency is the key, but passengers need to trust that airline and aviation authorities are taking safety seriously. So if the accident was caused by the design flaw, airlines should ground similar aircraft until the issue is fixed. Governments should also step in when necessary, enforcing stricter regulations or requiring additionally safety checks. And beyond just technical changes, airlines should offer a mental health support or for both survivors and families of victims. But I heard that there is some issue with the blood box.
Oh yeah.
From the crash.
Yeah, the
right?
Jeju Air, it stopped recording 4 minutes before the crash happened. So like the final 4 minutes are like the most important minutes, right? Bird strike, what happened after that, what caused the plane to divert so quickly and try to land. It went around, it took a go around, and then it circled back, and then it hit the runway and crashed into that concrete barrier at the end. But what exactly happened, what went on in the cockpit during the final minutes, and that was like gone. So that doesn't happen.
No.
That's not meant to happen.
No.
So
No.
like Boeing 737, that was Boeing 737-800. Unless all power systems completely went down, then
It stops.
it stops. And actually on the newer 737 models, they actually have a separate power system just for the black boxes, but that was a previous generation aircraft. But still, I don't think that was much likely. The final 4 minutes is, it's a short period to us, but in that context, it's a very long period of time, and we could have gained a lot of information about it. Like the plane went around one time and then landed in its second attempt, right? And then that's just like, we don't know what happened anymore. So that's kind of a mystery and very puzzling to me.
Yeah. So my next question is, do you think airlines are doing enough to ensure passenger safety?
I think, yeah, airlines are making significant strides in safety by investing in training, maintenance, and new technologies. But there's always room for improvements. We've improved a lot since a couple of decades ago. Have you heard of the DC-10?
What is that? DC-10?
It's an aircraft model. It was an airliner model that had a lot of fatal crashes a couple decades ago. So it was a plane developed by McDonnell Douglas. It has 3 engines. It was a wide body. They advertise it very well. So airlines obviously bought a lot of them. And then it kept having these fatal crashes all over the place. So Turkish Airlines 981, all passengers killed. There was Japan Airlines 2634, where all passengers were killed. And there was like 2 separate American Airlines incidents, I believe. And one of them was due to a faulty cargo door blowing off. So it was not locked properly. So when aircrafts get pressurized, right, we pressurize the aircraft so we can stay at like 4,000 to 6,000 feet, I believe, because the air gets so thin when we're like 30,000 feet up, right? So that becomes the airplane to be pressurized like a balloon. So if there's a hole in the balloon, the air is going to get sucked out very quickly, and the whole thing's going to explode. That cargo door maintenance was due to American Airlines not telling their maintenance people properly about how to fix the door issue. So it was only a service bulletin, and I guess not many people read that. So they need to be extra transparent when a manufacturer issues something like that. Another incident with the DC-10 was the third engine, so at the back of the tail, that one of the fan blades blew off, I believe, and sliced all the hydraulic lines of the airplane. So they couldn't control it at all. And it crashed into a mountain, I believe.
Oh my God.
So, again, manufacturers and airline like maintenance crew really have to work together and develop, solutions, preparing for like the various different kind of outcomes that different accidents can bring. So, what technologies do you think are used to improve airplane safety today? Like there's black boxes, obviously, but AI has been trending a lot recently. So, what do you think about that?
A lot of different technologies help keep flights safe. Black box is obviously one of the most important. It records flight data and cockpit conversations, which helps investigators understand what happened in an accident. So autopilot system also reduce the chance of human error by handling much of flying, especially during cruising. But AI is becoming more important too. It can predict mechanical issues before they become serious, helping with the maintenance, and even small things like improved weather, radar systems, and better communication tools for pilots make a huge difference in preventing accidents. So in the future, would you feel safe flying in a fully automated plane without a pilot?
Flying, that sounds like both fascinating and unnerving at the same time, right? Like technology has advanced like tremendously in the past years, and there's a certain reassurance in knowing, a trained professional is at the controls, obviously. But, autonomous aircrafts sound promising. The only problem is that AI systems and computers are only good as the data that's inputted into them. So obviously you have to have a lot of sensors, cameras, and other technologies that allows the aircraft to know its surroundings, know its altitude, know its airspeed. And if that goes wrong, then the computer will just act as if all the sensors were functioning correctly.
Okay.
And that could be very, very dangerous. A prime example of that was XL Airways Flight 888. So that was a A320 that crashed into the Mediterranean Sea. The reason for that was faulty sensors. So ice gathered up on the angle of attack sensor. So the angle of attack is basically how pitched up is your aircraft. And then the sensor froze, basically. And then the computers couldn't tell if the sensors were behaving normally or not. They always assumed that the sensor was giving accurate readings, so it was giving incorrect readings to the pilots. And it was a test flight, so there was like 3 main pilots and a couple engineers on board. So they ended up pitching the plane way too high, and when you pitch a plane way too high up, it loses lift, it goes into a stall, and then it falls down because there's no lift anymore. So that was the cause of this like totally fatal accident back in 2008.
Oh.
So we need like, if an experienced pilot, if the sensor goes majorly wrong, probably could figure out that something's wrong by looking at the readings and looking at the surroundings. Having a human that, at least can read the computers and make the decision on their own would be more assuring than leaving it fully up to AI systems and computers. Still, but I'm open to the technology if safety records are proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So beyond air travel, space travel is becoming more common. How do you think that space travel accidents would differ from airplane accidents?
Space travel is on a whole different level when it comes to a risk. In aviation, pilots often have backup system, emergency landing option, and even a change for passengers to survive in some cases. But in space, a single failure, like a malfunctioning oxygen system or a small structure issue, can be fatal. So there's also the issue of rescue operation. So if airplane crashes, emergency crews can respond within hours, but in space, there's no quick rescue option. So if something goes wrong, astronauts are basically on their own.
Yeah. There's are those two astronauts still stranded up in space on the International Space Station? Are they still stuck up there? Because
I don't know. They are still there?
Yeah.
ISS?
Yeah.
Are they...
So they went up in like a Boeing space aircraft, Boeing Starliner. Two NASA astronauts, yeah. So they, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, they went up, and then there was a problem with the aircraft, so they're not able to come back down. They're still up there, and people are starting to worry about them.
When was it?
June 2024.
Last year?
Yeah, since June 2024.
So it's been more than half a year.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God. So are there enough?
Yeah, they're still sending up food and supplies, obviously.
Okay.
But people are starting to worry about their health because when you're in space, you're in low gravity, so your bones, muscles get very weak if you don't exercise every day. So astronauts are constantly exercising, moving their muscles to keep up because they do deteriorate in outer space because you don't need to use them as much often.
Yes.
They're starting to worry about their health conditions. Yeah, so everyone's trying to scramble for a quick solution, but obviously it's very hard to get two people from way out in outer space.
Yeah, exactly.
Home
Yes.
again.
Oh my God.
So imagine if we had a space tourism industry and people in large populations are going back and forth. If there's a problem, a lot of people are going to be affected.
Exactly. So, do you think technological advancements can completely eliminate airplane accidents in the future?
No, I don't think so. Because everywhere there's always these unpredictable factors that we haven't really thought about, such as, one thing, birds. We haven't figured out how to get rid of bird strikes yet. Because people say, oh, can't you put a covering cage over the engines? The reason is no, because first of all, the plane's going at 900 kilometers per hour. If a bird collides at that speed, it's going to just rip through the cage. Second, if you put a cage over the engine, then the engine can't take in enough air to function. And basically, I heard we have specific sound frequencies that shoot out to get rid of the birds and gunshot sounds.
Yeah.
Of course, but they're only temporary solutions. We haven't figured out how to completely eliminate the risks of bird strikes. Right? There will always be human error in case of human piloted aircraft, and even if like automated things become mainstream in the future, you can't, computers are only good as the humans that program them. If there's a bug, if there's a glitch, if a sensor goes wrong, then there could be a lot of unpredictable factors in it. So how should the media report on airplane accidents to respect the victims and their family? This is about ethical and social questions regarding aircraft incidents.
I think the media needs to strike the balance between reporting facts and being respectful. Sometimes news outlets rush to cover accidents without verifying details, which can lead to misinformation and unnecessary panic. So sensationalizing disasters by showing dramatic footage over and over doesn't really help anyone. So it just fuels fear. Instead, the focus should be on providing accurate information, expanding what's being done to prevent future accidents, and giving space for families to grieve without intrusion, right? So what ethical issues do you see when airlines try to hide or downplay information about accidents?
Yeah, it raises some serious ethical concerns. Transparency is essential to learning from mistakes and preventing future incidents, which we're all trying to do. Covering up details not only damages public trust, but also stalls crucial safety improvements that could save lives in the future. Such actions put like profit and reputation over human safety, which is deeply troubling from an ethical standpoint. And also, I think the Jeju airline crash also highlighted something else. Airport design.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Muan airport was recently certified as an international airport. Its runway it was originally like built as a regional airport, and they started flying internationally. The ILS systems on the runway, they had like a concrete barrier above the ground to like set up all their antennas. And if you see like in like other international airports, that's not the case. Everything that's beyond the runway, in case of an aircraft overrun, should be designed to be easily breakable. Basically, the aircraft should plow through them and break them, so there's minimal damage to the aircraft. That there's like international standards, I believe. A lot of critics on like foreign news channels, so like outside of Korea, are saying that the design of the runway and that localizer antenna system does not meet the international standards for safe airports.
So how did you get these certification?
The Ministry of Transportation in Korea probably certified it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like people saying that they kind of rushed through the certification process.
So
was politically motivated.
So they should have
Yeah.
scrutinized it before giving.
Yeah. So a lot of Western airports, like U.S. Airports, have something called EMAS, which is a concrete surface at the end of the runway, beyond the runway, that easily can break apart. So when an aircraft overshoots the runway, like all the ground is like really bumpy, so it kind of slows down. Those systems are not in place in any airport in South Korea currently. EMAS has, effectively reduced the impact of many other aircraft runway overrun accidents in the past. So implementing those safety procedures and scrutinizing our current airport designs would also help reduce the risk of a crash if there was an emergency situation at that particular airport. So aircraft infrastructure is also a key factor.
Exactly.
So what can individuals and society do to help reduce aircraft accidents?
Individuals. While the average person doesn't have direct control over aviation safety, there are still things we can do. I think supporting strong safety regulations and holding airlines accountable when they cut corners is important. So passengers can also follow safety guidelines, things like paying attention to safety briefings, fastening seat belts properly, and reporting suspicious activity. And for pilots, mechanics, and air traffic controllers, speaking up when they notice safety concerns should always be encouraged without fear of punishment. So, should the airline focus more on safety, even if it means increasing ticket price?
Okay. Personally, I don't know how airlines distribute their like income towards like maintenance and safety. But if it is necessary, then a ticket increase is worth it. You know. Ideally, airlines would find ways to optimize costs without compromising safety. But if safety upgrades truly require more funding, then the trade-off, you know, I believe it is worth it in the long run. Because, you know, it's better to prevent an incident than, you know, having slightly cheaper tickets. Yeah. So if you were a pilot in charge of airline safety, what would you focus on the most?
I would focus on two things: pilot training and aircraft maintenance. Of course, pilot needs regular training on how to handle emergency situation, not just the theory, but with the realistic simulations. So I think we have good enough system to do so. And when it comes to maintenance, I'd push more use of AI and predictive technology to catch mechanical problems early. And a lot of accidents could be prevented if issue were caught before takeoff.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than discovered in mid-flight. So if you had a power to change one thing about aviation safety, what would it be?
I would definitely push for more stricter and more frequent global maintenance and safety inspections. You know, ensuring that all airplanes, regardless of the airline or country they operate in, are held to these highest safety standards. And that would make a substantial difference. Transparency, reporting systems, better communication between the manufacturer and the maintenance and the airport. That would be a huge positive impact onto overall safety. So how would you personally deal with anxiety or fear when you hear about airplane accidents?
So it reminds myself that flying is still the safetiest mode of transportation by far. So plane crash get a lot of immediate coverage because they are rare, not because they are common. So when I start feeling nervous, I focus on the fact that thousands of planes take off and land safely every single day. So I just try to see the positive things.
Yeah.
So and I also remind myself that every accident leads to improvement in safety. So flying today is actually safer than it was 10 or 20 years ago. After learning more about airplane accident, do you feel more or less confident about flying?
I think learning more about airplane accidents, oddly enough, makes me feel a bit more confident about flying because as I was watching a video by an air crash investigator, no crash is in vain. We always learn valuable lessons about like aircraft design or maintenance procedures or communication that can be used in pilot training and help improve safety and for the future. While it's very sobering to read about the causes of the crashes and there's a lot of sadness and anguish involved, we can take comfort in knowing that the aviation community actively learns from these mistakes and continually strives to make flying even safer. Wow, so that was
Yeah.
a deep dive into the world of aviation safety. We covered everything from pilot error to cutting edge technology and the ethical dilemmas airlines face when accidents happen.
Yeah, and it really makes you think, how much trust do we put into aviation industry and what can be done to make flying even safer?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you feel safe flying these days? What do you think about the future of air travel? Drop us a comment or message us on social media.
And don't forget to subscribe to Current Density with Jayden. So you never miss an episode. We've got more exciting topics coming your way.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep questioning the world around you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.